This Sunday on Press Pass, the showdown over the Jeffrey Epstein files continues to consume Washington. House Speaker Mike Johnson abruptly shut down votes and sent lawmakers home early for recess this past week, accusing Democrats of playing political games with their renewed push to release the documents. Meanwhile, a revelation that Attorney General Pam Bondi told President Donald Trump in May that his name appeared in documents related to the Epstein case, but no evidence Trump was involved in any wrongdoing. In a surprise move, a House Oversight Subcommittee voted to subpoena the Department of Justice for access to the files and Epstein's former associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. So here to go over these developments and more, retired professor of political science from Baldwin-Wallace University, Dr. Tom Sutton. Dr. Sutton, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely good to be with you.
Well, so the Epstein case and these files are also something that's causing the president's base to revolt, and they've been pushing for full transparency. In your opinion, do you think this is becoming a sideshow, or is it something that Congress and the public deserve to see and know?
I think it's a little bit of both. Really, what you have is something that there's been this conspiracy theory that Jeffrey Epstein did not commit suicide, that he was taken out because of what was in those files. It became a campaign theme during the 2024 elections for Donald Trump. And now, really, it's very hard to put that behind you when you have campaigned and talked about conspiracy theories, and now you have one right in front of you that people continue to build on. The early recess for the House was to prevent the potential for a vote to demand documents. But let's keep in mind that full files of the investigation really can only be released by an order of the court. And you have everything from witnesses to potential victims to potential perpetrators all in those files. And Donald Trump being mentioned in those, as Pam Bondi had indicated, could just well be as much that he was a longtime friend of Jeffrey Epstein, which he has said, or it could be something more. We don't know, and whether those files are ever released, it's probably a long shot.
Now, we've just learned that the Department of Justice granted Ghislaine Maxwell limited immunity during her questioning. What do you expect to come from this and that subpoena that was issued?
Well, the limited immunity, it's hard to say because it's basically immunity from potential further prosecution, or it could be an alleviation of her sentence, 20-year sentence. One might expect that she would be holding out for a potential full pardon from President Trump, which he could do, and which he has done. The controversy when he became president a second time over pardoning most of the January 6th people who were convicted of their actions on January 6, 2021. It's possible that she's bargaining for that, but then the question is, will she reveal in exchange that might change the turn on what's going on with files?
Do you think this will all be kind of kept under wraps?
They will attempt to, but I highly doubt that that will last for long. This is an administration where you have a lot of sources that leak information, even if that threatens their own positions. Maybe they seek to curry favor. Bottom line is, I think we will find out sooner or later, but it's quite possible that this could string along. However, let's keep in mind that Donald Trump is term limited. He's not running again, and it really is centered on him, not on the GOP per se. So the idea that it might affect midterm elections next year, I think, is quite low.
Now, I want to switch gears just a little bit. This past week, President Trump made claims alleging former President Barack Obama influenced findings related to Russian interference in the 2016 election. Now, the Justice Department announced that a strike force would investigate potential next steps. But what kind of evidence is here for the president to base his claims on?
There's very little evidence. I think a lot of what was alleged about Russia's involvement basically boiled down to reports that were released that said that Russia did try to interfere with the 2016 elections, but there's no evidence that they actually were able to change anything related to how people voted. It was more social media, messaging, et cetera, to try to favor people towards voting for Donald Trump. That record's pretty clear. I don't see where there'd be anything that might counter that story. This is another attempt by President Trump to deflect attention from what's going on with the Epstein files, and that really being something that's a liability for him.
Yeah, now while the Epstein controversy plays out, Trump is overseas in Scotland ahead of his August 1st tariff deadline. Do you expect to see some 11th hour trade deals coming this week?
He's meeting with the head of the EU, and I think there's a high hopes on both sides that there will be a trade deal with the 17 members of the European Union, and that would be a significant deal. We know that he's cut a deal that was basically a 15% tariff down from 25 with Japan, the possibility that might happen with Korea. The big ones that are unknown at this point are what will happen with the 90-day suspension of the high tariffs with China and China against us, and also what happens with tariffs with India. The market's making it clear that so far, so good. The markets have continued to steadily rise despite the possibility of tariffs. At the same time, the auto industry has posted losses compared to this quarter last year, both in here in the United States and in Germany. So it's a mixed message at best as to how markets and people eventually will be responding to these tariffs.
Do you think we'll see the same tariff panic all over again that we saw just a few months ago?
I think it's been leavened by seeing how the administration has responded when markets panic or when there's popular opinion against this. So I think they're trying to be very careful about doing this in a way that achieves their goals without creating disruption in the economy. And when signs of disruption occur, particularly in the bond market, that's when they tend to back off. And of course, I'm sure that President Trump does not want to hear the term taco used again. Trump always chickens out. And so I think that's a part of what they're thinking about as they move forward.
All right, Dr. Tom Sutton, we appreciate your insight on this situation.
Good to be with you, Leslie.